2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts, and happy Thanksgiving to one and all, since we have had a holiday over here in the Americas. Hopefully everyone out there has given thanks for the food that they had last week. If you didn't, then I guess you're a rotten turkey. But in any case, I decided to choose a movie. To be honest, it's fairly similar to our last movie. To be honest, because it involves Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins, and many other actors and actresses. It was filmed in 1998. It was directed by Martin Brest. And it is, as Boris would say, a horribly long movie.
It was long, but actually, I have to say, in this particular case, I was quite impressed by how well it was keeping my attention throughout the whole thing. And if I hadn't had, I watched it in two parts. One half on yesterday and the second half today. But if I hadn't had other things to do, I really could have watched it in one go. It was really that interesting. Actually, much more than I expected.
Okay. Is that your first impression of this movie then?
Oh, well, okay, I could probably give a little more, but yeah, it's not my turn yet. Sorry for butting in.
Oh, not a problem. Since we are talking to you anyways, why don't you go ahead and give your first impressions? Was this a first time watch for you?
Oh, yes and no. I quite a while ago. Wait, let me check what year this movie is from. I forgot.
1998.
Oh, yeah. Well, I came across this movie on TV quite a while ago. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but yeah, it was on TV. I didn't watch it from the beginning, but I don't know, from some point in the middle, and I remembered basically what it was about, and I remembered how it ended, but I cannot remember the whole story. So, as you remember, during our last discussion, when you mentioned this movie, I checked it out. When you mentioned it, I was like, "Oh yeah, that one." And last week, when we were watching Starman, actually, while watching Starman, I was also reminded of this movie. But yeah, I had forgotten how long it was. And when I saw it on IMDb, you saw my reaction and pissed yourself laughing. But yeah, this time uh, yeah, I actually watched it from the beginning to the end, and it was really good. Like I said, it was keeping my attention throughout the whole story. And yesterday, when I finished the first hour and a half, I was like, "Wow, I'm already that far into the movie." Like it was, it was really interesting. I have to say. I hope Kroll is not going to hate me for saying this, but since we are talking about movies that are 3 hours or longer, I have to say this one did a better job keeping my attention than, for example, Lord of the Rings. Sorry to say, Kroll, but yeah.
Sorry to say to Kroll, Dave, and every other nerd in the world, but okay.
Okay, yeah, sorry everyone.
Hey, your opinion is your opinion. Everyone's right. Everyone has a right to the wrong opinion.
Okay, fair
Uh, head-
enough.
Heading over to you, Kroll. Was this a first time watch for you?
Yes, it was. I thought I had seen it. It was just I saw it, but not saw it. You know what I mean? Like I saw the work Meet Joe Black, and it's been around forever. You know, sometimes you see something so much around that you get in your head that you've seen it, and then you start watching, then you realize, oh, no, we haven't seen it. And then it isn't one of those cases where I saw it and just forgot. I really hadn't seen it. So I didn't even know what it was about. And usually, if I've seen a movie, I at least remember what it's about. So yeah, when I realized what it was about, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Death takes a holiday. I love how they use the English term for vacation, holiday, instead of the American, even though this is an American movie. Uh, but yeah, I thought it was very well done, very well acted. Of course, when you got Anthony Hopkins, who's incredible, and Brad Pitt, I can't think of the Susan's the name, the actress, but yeah, she I've seen her in other things, and she has the most amazing eyes. I don't know what it is, but I think her eyes are just
Yes,
amazing. You
I
kind of
was mentioning this to the Tammy yesterday. She's got
Yeah, you
this.
kind of get lost in her eyes. Just the way she looks at you and the way she looks, just
Her
gets
eyes
lost in
water
her
up
eyes.
like ever so
Yeah,
slightly, and it's sexy.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Very,
Uh,
very, very sexy.
uh, oh,
Very sexy. Um,
but sorry to interrupt, but there was something funny I wanted to say now when you mentioned vacation. Here in Croatia, when someone is looking sickly or sleep deprived or something, we have a saying for that in Croatian, which literally translates to "I look like death on vacation." So now after seeing this movie, when I hear someone say "I look like death on vacation," I will say, "You don't look like Brad Pitt to me."
Well, I would say this is
or
death on a
you don't
steak.
look like Joe Black.
I would say
Yeah.
that this is death on a staycation. uh,
Why he didn't stay in the underworld. He went to the earth.
but have you finished your first
No,
impression?
no, I got interrupted.
Sorry.
So, anyways, yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I thought the story was interesting. Um, everybody now the fiance or boyfriend or whoever the hell he was, um, I thought he was a decent guy at first. And she just wasn't in love with him or whatever. You could tell that right away. But I thought he was a decent guy at first, and then all of a sudden his true colors came out. I was like, wow, what a snake. And that was before you find out that he was like a mole too, and was even worse of a snake. And you know, um, so yeah, I love how they dealt with it, and how how Brad Pitt's character, Joe Black, dealt with it, and said he was from the IRS, and and it's great because when he answers back death and taxes, I'm
Spoiler
like, oh
alert.
yeah, like I mean I've always said that too, but yeah, so he's deaf, but he's pretending to be with the taxes side because you say he was deaf, someone would laugh or not believe him or whatever, so saying he's from the IRS is something scary and very believable. So you know, it, and he probably was ready to piss his pants, like Brad Pitt said he would after he said, "Don't piss my pants." He's like, "You will be more." So I absolutely love the lines, and he played the character so smooth, like really felt like this is his first time on Earth and first time enjoying like earthly things, kind of like in movies where angels are experiencing things for the first time. You usually see the angel, and then you got Lucifer, which is the TV show where of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
he's been enjoying Earth for a long time, but still, it's the same type of concept. But this is the first time we actually see death kind of take a vacation on Earth and check out how things are. And I love his obsession for peanut butter. And what's really funny is when they were doing the scene with the peanut butter, and he was saying the name of the peanut butter. I go, what? No Jiffy or Skip? Or no Jiff or Skippy? And then he mentions that it's as good as Skippy and Jiff. I'm like, oh, that's funny. Because those I'd say are probably the two most popular, at least here in America. They're certainly my two favorites. Even though I love Reese peanut butter cups, Reese peanut butter is not my favorite. Surprisingly, but yeah. So I thought that was very funny. It was really enjoyable the way he loved peanut butter, and he turned away the good meal and good meat for some more peanut butter. It still was funny. Um, but yeah. So it was and it was great how they brought it back to the peanut butter when she was saying I love making love to you, and he said me too, and she goes even better than peanut butter. He said, yes, much more, so kind of brought that back around of how much he loved peanut butter, but you know so yeah, well written, and Brad Pitt was very believable as the guy, as death, but I mean, he was so like clueless to things. But then when he was talking to, talking to the man, he was serious. He got so serious, especially when he was talking down, to, yelling at him, or saying things or whatever. It's like, he threatening me. He's like, be careful. Yeah, like, I'm still deaf. I may have this
Whatever I want.
smiling face, and I may have this innocent um innocence about me or whatever, um but I'm still deaf, so be careful on what you say. you know um but good for him, he stood up for his daughter, because he's like, you know I don't know your intentions with her. And then when he found out, he's like, you can't take her with, and like Death says, you can't stop me, which is true. He couldn't stop him, but he realized that he's become a good human, even though he's not technically a human. Like, he's got a good soul, so he knew, talking to him, that he would come to the right conclusion himself, and not take his daughter. You know, it's definitely not her time. And even though if he really loved her, then he wants her to be happy and not kill her. Let her live her life. You know. So yeah, I thought that was really great. Everything was great. Like I said, everything was well written. Everything was well acted. I don't have any complaints. You don't realize who the villain is until it's revealed, and did a good job of becoming the villain, had, and becoming a snake. And you know, I love that the whole board was on board with bringing him back as the chairman. Of course, it was all for naught. I mean, at least he died knowing they wanted him back. Now I don't know who's going to be in charge, uh, but yeah. Well, I have one question about the end, though, and when we get to the end, I'll ask you guys what you guys think about it. I know that I saw a thing, and I didn't look at it, but it said explain the end of Joe Black, and I kind of want to look at that, because obviously I have the same question that other people probably have the same question on. In the end, it was kind of weird, so we'll get into that when we go through the plot. But yeah, that's my first impression. Now I'm done.
Okay. Heading over to Tammy. Was this the first time watch for you?
No, but it's been a long time, so I don't remember how long ago it was since I watched it. It was like almost like watching it for the first time since it's been that long. But before I forget, I wanted to say when you were talking about things, references and things, I like how at the end the um the comment that Drew had made earlier about the only thing a constant in life is taxes and death, and how he threw that back at him at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
I thought that was like one of the last things he said to Drew, and I was just like, aha. Yeah, you got that one back, didn't you?
Oh
Don't you think
yeah.
that was cool how he threw that back at him like that? Because the first time he said it to him in that boardroom, he was just like, you know, Joe was just like, huh? You know?
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Which is why it's kind of cool that it did come up in the end, and because he was able to throw it, like you said, right back at him. But
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think everything was done really cool too. I mean, it's just, I, I see where you're saying that it kind of reminded you of the Starman because Joe being who he wasn't aware of lots of things or how to act or how to do this or um and obviously was not aware of peanut butter.
he wasn't aware of feelings. He was not aware of a lot of things, how things tasted and felt. Everything was kind of like brand new to him because he'd never experienced life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Sex,
I
sex
think
was
he
brand
did a
new
good
to him
job, you
too.
know, and I think Brad Pitt did a good job. So
Yeah, this definitely showed Brad's acting chops at the time when I remember chicks going all, "He's so hot," and of course, and of course in Playgirl, I heard his schlong was kind of short, but um, in any case, um, yeah, I remember a roommate, a mate's girlfriend of mine saying she picked up a Playgirl and saw what his nads looked like, and they were very small compared to how big in life he looked in real life, I guess. But in any case, this was not my first time watching this. I did not see it in the theater, but I did own the two tape madness of it because it was on two tapes. Um, and you would watch like the first part of it, and then you'd put the second tape in, and you'd watch the second part. And then, of course, later on, I picked up the DVD of it, and I watched it several times there. And I
Wow.
like the story. Uh, I like the idea of death taking a holiday. It's kind of like I mean, the ideas of death have changed over time. I mean, there's a science fiction writer that I like really well called Piers Anthony, and he thought he gave the idea and impression that death is just a job, and if you kill the person in charge of the job, then you just take over that person's job. But in this reality, death is kind of like the death is kind of like another version of a god, you know. In a sense, he's the one. He's the Grim Reaper of all Grim Reapers, you know. So, uh, but over time, I feel like Grim Reapers have you, you kind of don't think that death can be in every place at once, you know. So you almost have to think that there's more than one Grim Reaper, you know. And I think there's a show that I used to watch called Dead Like Me that kind of showed a little bit.
Yeah, that
Oh,
show was fucking phenomenal. That show
I
is phenomenal.
I
Absolutely love it. I love how the main character dies. She gets killed by a toilet that fell out of the space station on her 18th birthday. It's fucking just, it's kind of like, oh man, what a way to go. You went on the toilet? No, the toilet went on me.
I I heard of that show but haven't seen it.
Oh, it is phenomenal, phenomenal show.
I mean, there's
Absolutely
another
hilarious.
UK show called Reapers that I didn't watch.
I
That
never
is
watched it.
also about Grim Reapers, but the the idea of a Reaper has kind of been single-handedly like been thrown in with the idea of death, and that death is an actual person or thing or deity. And I've always thought that the devil was also in relation to death, you know, or
Oh,
I mean, you, you know, so you could almost say that the devil came to Earth here. So in a
huh.
sense, um, on vacation, and he uh, grew feelings, you know. So these are the types of ideas and things and thinking that to me kind of go behind of this character. I mean, what exactly is death? Is there a life after death? Some people think there is. Some people think there isn't. Some people believe that we're already in hell and we're just waiting for, you know.
I used to think that way when I was a negative person.
Well, I did come across a church that actually believes that the ideas behind Emanuel Swedenborg, um, and that he wrote a book called Heaven and Hell, which basically is a prophetic thing that we are already living through hell, and heaven is just the next place, or something to that effect. So
Oh,
um,
interesting.
it's an interesting piece of work. I mean, it was written in the 14th century, and if you look up guys who are prophecies, he's on some of those lists. But that being said, um, this particular film, I mean, you have a media mogul played by Anthony Hopkins. I believe his first name is Bill. Trying to remember
Yeah,
his last name. Um,
Paris.
Parrish, yeah. So Bill Parrish is this. He's built this like huge company, and apparently, I think in it's in some dire straits. His birthday is coming up. His one daughter is planning this big birthday party, and his other daughter, she's just kind of there. She's a doctor, um, and she works at a hospital, and you can tell that she is like his favorite. Okay, um, and I believe that Susan is going out with Drew, his supposedly number one business guy that's in his company. He's rather young, and he seems to be up and coming business a man of some sort. And he's got this idea of having this one guy merge with Bill's company, and he fully believes that it will save Bill Parrish's company and make it, make it a lot of money, make everyone a lot of money. But what Bill doesn't know, and that's on the other side of the spectrum, is that if this merger goes through, and we find this out later, um, the guy will actually just sell it off bit by bit and make the company completely disappear. And that's not what Bill wants. As we find out, he is a man of many opinions, and he fully believes that when he built this thing, he wanted it to last, and he puts down his foot on the whole merger thing, and Drew didn't take it well. Um, he really wanted this to go through. He thinks that Bill is insane for not doing it. In fact, he will do anything in his power to, with or without um, Bill's say so, um, to make this all happen. And he I guess, there is on the other side of the spectrum, a conversation that Bill has with his daughter on an airplane, and he basically tells her, asks her pretty much, "Hey, uh, are you happy with Drew? I mean, I don't really see that you are happy. It seems like you are just going through the motions. I want you to dance a jib, dance like a dirgus. I don't know. No, I want you to have lightning strike you. You know." And he says all these things uh, more or less to tell her that well, number one, he loves her, and number two, he wants her to be as happy as he was at one point in time. And so, what do we think about Bill as a person?
Mm, well, I would say he is remarkably honorable and moral person regarding his social and economic status. Usually, people with so much money become power corrupt, which wasn't the case with him, which I think in this world is a very rare thing to happen. So, respect to the character for that. Mm,
Okay. What do you think, Kroll, about Bill in general?
Yeah, I agree with Boris that he is a very honorable man, and I disagree with the fact that it's rare. I don't think it's rare. I just think it's rare that we hear about it. Because there are lots of billionaires out there. There's lots of millionaires out there, way more millionaires out there than you even know of. There's the thing called Millionaire Next Door, which is basically people that are living in a normal house, driving a normal car, and you look at them, they don't look like millionaires, but they are, because they're just everyday people, and I think there's a lot more good people like that around. Just you don't see about that because all you hear about in the news is bad stuff. So you only hear about the billionaires that are bad, like McMahon and Vince McMahon and other things, you don't really hear a lot about Grant Cardone. Yeah, he's a billionaire. But I'd consider him a good billionaire, um, even when there was stuff about him, he proved everything that was said about him wrong. That it was, he wasn't part of any scams. He was truly helping people and all this other stuff. So,
I'm
yeah, I
sorry,
just
I didn't hear. Who are you talking about?
He's just
Grant
talking about
Cardone,
in general.
Grant
Uh,
Cardone.
okay, I'm sorry, I don't really know who that person is.
That's
Oh,
okay. You can look him up. But anyway, so like I said, you only hear about bad things in the news and things. So naturally, you're not going to hear about what the good things people do too much because it doesn't make news, and that's why I don't watch the news. But so yeah, but I definitely agree. He's a upstanding man, and of course he does he tries to get out of dying once, and he's told he can't, and he doesn't really try after that. And then when he says he's ready, and he was very honorable with everything. He never pleaded. He honored their deal, even though it cost him his livelihood, his job, and was kicked out of his own company. But he's just a very honorable man and a very decent character, and um, it was a great character, and Anthony Hopkins just did it absolutely incredible, just like he does with everything. He's a great villain, and he's a great guy. So he
oh,
play both spectrums.
actually,
Yeah.
actually, I have to say I find him more entertaining as a villain, but he is okay in roles like these too. But his villain roles are, at least to me personally, more interesting.
Yes, his villain roles are interesting. Also, his villain roles are too.
Eh,
Sorry, just had to pick on your accent there.
what did you think of Bill in general, Tammy?
I thought he was a very distinguished man. Just he knew what he wanted. He knew how he wanted his company run. He expected certain things from certain people, which that was at you know their job. And he held his daughters to that. They meant so much to him. He wanted the best for them, and you know, um, while the one daughter was planning, yes, the birthday celebration, I don't think he was very cordial about it, but he wasn't expecting this whole big thing for his birthday. He went along with it because I think he went along with it because she wanted to do it, but I don't think it was his thing. But he didn't want to disappoint her, even though he made a few comments here and there that he didn't actually mean to make because he kind of like took aback because he really wasn't.
Well,
that
part of it was Joe Black. Uh, well, let's get into that character. So, before we get into that, I do have to talk about go backwards and talk about Susan. So Susan ends up going and having coffee in a coffee shop, and as she sits down, there's a man speaking to someone on the phone. He calls her honey, and it turns out that this young man has just gotten into town. We don't even know his name. We don't even learn his name, but,
No, you never do.
he just starts talking to Susan about the fact that he's new, and he was just talking to his sister, and evidently she just got out of an abusive relationship, and he was trying to tell her that he was going to be there for her. And in the whole conversation, he begins to flirt with her and make her feel better about herself. And they even have a flirtatious a moment after they have coffee for a little bit, and uh, he says something to the effect, "Because I like you so much," and she says the same thing back, and then suddenly he's hit by a car, and then
2 cars.
no, just one.
2.
Actually, I
again.
think it was two. He was hit once and then
And then hit again.
think like he was ejected and the other car hit him once more.
Yep. Exactly what happened.
Well, regardless,
yes, it was 2 cars.
okay, because I saw one car almost hit him, and then
And then 2 cars hit him.
So he was hit once and that was a spudal, and then he was hit once more and that was a spudable.
no matter what, it was a sudden thing, and I'm sure all of us were the first time. What the fuck,
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? And then he showed up
Well,
at
yeah.
the house, and I was like, wow, so he's deaf too, or whatever. And then now that was the one thing about, I thought Death was a great character, but I'm like, so he just killed this guy because he needed his body? That's fucked up.
Well, the first time we actually hear Death is actually in the very beginning.
Yeah, in his head.
Because he hears him in his head, and he says, "Yes, yes is the answer to your question."
Actually, he talked before that when he was walking with his daughter and his son-in-law.
That was afterwards.
No, that was before, from the helicopter.
Okay.
That was the first time.
No, when he was first whispered to, it was in the very beginning. It was how the movie started. He
No, he was
was,
having a dream when the movie started.
but he was whispered to, and it said yes. And that was why he got up. So, but then he was talked to later after the helicopter ride, and he was told certain things that he told his daughter. It's like Death had actually listened to what he was saying before he was going to take him, and thought that these words were very good. He was impressed by them. So he decided that he was going to take a holiday and use Bill as a guide through to show him, show him around, show him the ropes. Because of these words that he heard. And that was when he showed up during the dinner. And one of the things is he's been having dinner with his family, and because Drew is going out with Susan, Drew is along for this, and I guess Death comes and tells him, "Hey, I'm outside. I'm at the door," and he Bill asks his servant to go and see if there was a man waiting outside, and she said yes, there was. He's in the foyer. Show him into the library, and so he goes and meets him in the library, and they have an interesting conversation. And he basically tells him, "Hey, I will give you time. I will give you time on this earth, basically. If you can show me around, show me the ropes. I'll." He's basically telling him that he's gonna keep him alive if he'll allow him to be his guide.
Yeah, and if he finds him something, he would get interested in something like that.
Well, yeah, he's got to keep him interested and keep him from being bored. So, in a sense, Death has taken this body to because he's bored with what he does, and he finds his life curious, and he's,
Uh,
you know,
yeah, which kind of left me wondering. I would say that was kind of a plot hole in the movie. So while he was in this human body, supposedly on vacation or whatever, does that imply that no one in the world was dying during those days, or what?
oh, he's
No,
kind of,
because then that's when the Grim Reapers would take over. Death is just is like the manager of everything, where he has a bunch of underlings under him, working for him. So yeah.
Ha!
well, that's the idea that I've always had that.
Yeah, that's. I mean, most movies or stories that we see about with death that's what the Grim Reapers are. So yeah.
But
Oh, like there is more
there
than
was
one.
there was a conversation he had with Bill that that moment where you're actually shaving and you're thinking about multiple things that you're going to do throughout the day. Well, that's kind of like what now is. Um, there are so many things going on in this world that you wouldn't even possibly know what to do and how to do it. Take it to the depths of hell and times it by infinity, and you could still never know. In fact, Bill ends up quoting that same thing back to him later, which is kind of funny too. Not only does Drew get his words back at him, but so does Death.
And Bill.
Well, yeah, but we do have him agreeing to this, and I think the agreement ends up changing a little bit once he sees how his family reacts around him, especially Susan, especially since Susan has met this body before, and he has to explain himself how that body met him before. Evidently, Susan had met that man before, um, and evidently they hit
She
it
didn't
off.
meet me. She met the guy that the body that wasn't happening. What happened to the guy? I needed a body. That was his answer. I needed a body.
Yeah, I must say, one thing I was thinking at the beginning, since Death was acting so socially awkward and not knowing human ways and all that, and Susan still fell in love with him, and I was like, in real life, if someone acts that way, uh, it would be very unrealistic that someone would
That's
fall in love
untrue.
with him.
That's untrue. People fall
Really?
in love every day, socially awkward or not. Plenty of socially awkward people out in the world, and they're in love.
Yeah, but I have actually heard of many cases of people like that, people who have social anxiety and stuff, who don't really know how to act like normal people, that they struggle to find a relationship unless they look like Brad Pitt.
Looks are nothing. It's all about your attitude.
Yeah, but like I said, people who don't know how to act like normal people, they
But
usually
what's normal? I don't act
uh,
normal.
well,
I
okay, like
I tend to
ordinary
think it's
people.
50-50 out there. There are many people who don't know how to act around people, and I know, uh, especially in this day and age, it's hard to for people to date in this day and age. Even in the news, we hear how people are having trouble dating
Do you?
people.
Do you?
Yes. Uh,
Wow.
um,
Maybe you should shut it off and not watch that piece of crap.
uh,
That's what I do.
wasn't there something in the news just recently about how bad dating is?
Nope.
Who?
I tell you,
Uh,
there's like 3 women to every guy out there. So I mean, I can see why some women might not have a relationship because there's way more of them than there are men. But why a guy doesn't have a relationship? Well, that's kind of weird.
Guess you have a more positive outlook on dating than
A
the
more
women.
positive outlook on everything in life these days.
Uh,
But in any case, uh, so she does. Susan actually does actually tell him that she's going out with Drew. Later on, but
Yeah, at the
there is
hospital. I'm going out with Drew, not now. Oh no, she says I'm with Drew, and he's like, not now. I love that line. I love that line.
uh, oh yeah, by the way, another thing I thought was a little unrealistic was during the first meeting between Bill and Death in the library, when Death was telling him, "Hey, I'm Death, you are going to die soon, this and that." That Bill just believed it all so easily that he wasn't like, "Who the hell are you, weirdo? I'm calling security to
well,
kick you out."
you have to think. The only thing that he's heard in his mind is this voice, and he did cause him pain. Uh,
Yeah.
he he did cause him pain, like while he was in his office, to show that he's got power.
Um,
He's got
mm,
the power to take him away.
Uh, yeah, yeah, true.
Um, he didn't just blindly believe because it took him a couple of voices in his head, and then finally this meeting, moment. I mean, it was kind of curious that all of a sudden this guy just showed up, and then
And he knew it too because he said, "I'm at the door. Is anyone to let me in?" And then he told his maid to go check the door, and there he was. So like he already knew who he was because it was in his head, and then it was confirmed that there was somebody at the door. So it had to be death. How else would he have known that there was somebody at the door? Because this isn't about ESP. So
and he didn't tell
Ah,
him he was deaf. He asked Bill, "Who do you think I am?"
yeah,
He let him come to that realization. It
exactly.
wasn't like he came out and told him. So that's one thing you got to bear in mind too. He didn't tell him anything. Bill came to that realization on his own. So,
mm, yeah, true.
but uh, the arrangement uh, becomes a little bit more once Bill learned that you know that body had met him before, and he told him this. Okay, I'll go along with whatever you say, just so long as whatever is going on, you keep it between me and you. Promise me that you'll keep it between me and you, because he doesn't want his family involved in this whole thing. You know, he will keep who he is secret if he promises whatever is going on, it's just between them two. And that's kind of what happens. He doesn't. He doesn't tell them anything. In fact, when his family asks, they have to come up with a name. He came up with the first name, and uh, then Death came up with the second name. Oh, actually, he came up with both names. I forgot. He said Joe, and then it took him a moment. He looked down at his suit, and it was black, and he was like, black. So
Yeah,
Joe.
and then the other guy was spitting out sports facts that there was a Joe Black, I guess a baseball player, I think, in some team or whatever.
Yep. And Drew, he just took a dislike to him from the get go. No matter what,
He was jealous.
he was a threat.
He was jealous.
Well,
First, he was jealous of the relationship between him and the big man because he was supposed to be the right hand man, and then he realized that not only him but Susan too. So now it's his girlfriend as well, which really made his blood boil.
well, yeah. All they did was just hang out with each other, and he immediately was like, "I thought we had a good thing going here,"
That was
uh,
after.
or was that the second night?
That was way later. Yeah, when
Okay,
they broke up,
yeah,
about halfway through the movie, I think, or slightly more.
yeah. Well, in any case, there is definitely some development here. Joe Black starts hanging out with Bill in public as well as in private, and his board people start getting a little curious. Actually, it was more Drew getting curious and making the board aware of this Joe Black character, and he was getting all fidgety whenever he was around. Um, and I do like that those moments where he just seems to be playing with the chair and eating the donuts, and he was like, "Where
Cookies.
are more of these jelly-filled donuts or cookies or whatnot? Uh, would you like some coffee with cream? Sure, that would be very nice, thank you." He
Actually,
gets,
he said it. He said, "I would like some coffee, and I would like some cream with it."
but
And I think he said something else, and
yep, but he kept interrupting, and this was the whole merger a moment where he brought up the merger, and that's when I think Bill slammed it down and told Drew, I'm not dealing with it.
We're not merging.
And then I think after that is when Bill was starting to feel claustrophobic around him because he felt like he was breathing down his neck. So he told him to go.
Maybe we need some time alone.
Well, yeah. And of course, we have that hospital moment.
So he's like, I think I'll manage it on my own. And where does he go? To the hospital to go see Susan.
Well, and there is a woman from the island who is there with, I guess, her daughter.
She knows who Death is right away.
Yeah, she gets scared right off hand because she thinks it's her time. But
yeah.
it's not.
And then a minute later, she's begging him to take her.
Yeah. that I thought it was a little bit funny.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, well, a second ago you were scared, now you're begging him to take you.
First you want to go, and then when you want to go, you want to stay. Which is it? You know?
Right. I love how he just started speaking her language and stuff, and yeah. And Susan was impressed with that.
Yeah. I think her daughter was looking at him a little weird though.
She was. Like, how does this white man know our language?
I do like how him and the island woman have kind of an interesting thing going on, and honestly, when he comes and visits later with the flowers or whatnot.
Well, the flowers are for Susan, but
their conversation between each other that kind of pushes him in the other direction, where he before coming there, he was going to take Susan with him, you know, because he had fallen in love with her and everything like that. So and she wanted to go with him, but you know she didn't know like who he was, like
she didn't know him dying.
Yeah, she didn't
a new meaning for I'll die for you.
But yeah, but I don't think that Death expected to fall in love. You know,
Nobody does.
He started having a relationship with her, and she with him, and I know that there were several conversations that Anthony Hopkins' character Bill had with him about, you know, I think he started to realize something was happening, and he at first was telling her to stay away from him. He's dangerous, and he finally put his foot down and was like, you know, I don't care whether you love him or not. He's not good for you, you know, and told her basically he's going to be going away for a couple of indefinitely, you know, and so, you know, there is the moment where Drew does in fact, you know, break it off with her. There's also the moment where Drew tries to take the company away from Bill.
Well, he does.
Well, he does in a sense, but and that was interesting because the brother-in-law, the husband of the sister, unbeknownst to him, kind of helped.
Yeah, accidentally. He wasn't meaning to, but yeah.
No. But Drew made him feel guilty and feel bad about himself. And I do like the fact that Joe Black came to him and said, you know what, Bill will forgive you. Why don't you just go ahead and come clean? You know?
Yeah.
Should I do it after the party? No. because he knew that it was going to be the end by then. So no, go now.
I do like that there is a moment where he talks with Joe about his wife,
Yeah,
and how much he misses her, and
and he
uh,
starts to oh, you mean Bill?
yeah, Bill starts to talk about the cold lamb sandwich, and which I've actually never had cold lamb sandwich. Has anyone here had lamb
Yes,
sandwich?
yes,
Uh, I think I haven't.
I haven't.
I have.
Would love
Is
to
it
try it.
is
It's
it
good.
good?
It's good.
But yeah. So I guess we get a moment where he's talking about his wife and how much he misses her and all that jazz. And I think there are moments where he gets time to reminisce about his life, and I think these moments with Joe or being around Joe allows him to almost say goodbye to those he loves. I mean, he gets to have conversations with his other daughter at that while she's setting up the birthday party, which I remember his other daughter there. I remember she was we talked about the movie The Mist.
Yes.
She was that religious nut that was
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah
I
she was
I was wondering where she was familiar from.
I've
yeah
Yeah.
seen her in a lot of things, but yeah.
um, but yeah, I've seen her in a lot of things too, especially when she was young. I think she was one of the love interests in Dick Tracy, possibly. Uh, but in any case, um, moving forward,
They went with Madonna.
uh, um, she okay. So Susan, she um, she really wants to go wherever he wants to go, but she doesn't realize who he is, and he at first was going to take her whether she wanted to or not.
No, not whether the father wanted to or not, wanted her to or not.
Well, yeah, um,
He
and
already said she wanted to go.
well,
Which,
yeah, but she is basically let down, and Joe Black comes back and tells Bill that it's just going to be them two, you know. And then of course we get the whole twist that you know we aforementioned. I'm I'm an agent for the IRS.
That was
His
brilliant.
his
yeah, with
expression on his face was so priceless. Um,
to
and
the IRS.
who'd have thought? You know, I did not think that you. Oh, and when the board was already called on for the for a meeting, and he was like, I'll go on Monday to talk to the board."
Oh, we're already on the call. Resignation accepted. That was great.
But yeah, um,
No changing your mind this time, buddy.
and then ultimately, I think one of the good things was he got to dance with Susan, and that was a good dance. I did like the fireworks. The fireworks were pretty awesome. And that whole moment when Joe Black is sitting on the bench and he's tearing up and shit. Um, every time I see that moment, I'm like tearing up myself because you almost feel for death because it's hard for him to leave her, and yet it's another moment where it's an impossibility for him to stay, and it's an impossibility for her to go. Just like Starman. It was an impossibility for her to go, and an impossibility for him to stay.
Yeah.
So, does this ending with him having to leave make more sense than the Starman ending?
Well,
To
it's
me, yes.
slightly different because he leaves, but then he comes back. Sort of. I mean, the original guy comes back. The original guy that she already, seems to already like as it was. So,
Uh,
yeah.
to, to me, it does make more sense because in this story we know from the beginning that he is deaf, that he is just here temporarily, and he eventually has to leave and all that. While in
We
the
learned
start,
that in the beginning of Starman too, that
uh,
he's just there temporarily
uh,
and he has to leave as well.
yeah, but I didn't finish what I was going to say.
I know I
Yes,
interrupted you.
in the Starman, we did know that the Starman was going to leave, but throughout the whole story, it was never said that the woman couldn't survive if she went with him to his planet. They introduced that only at the end of the story, only to make it impossible for them to stay together, while they could have as well just made it possible for her to live on his planet, and
That that wouldn't make any sense. If
why
he
not?
can't survive on her, if he can't survive on her on Earth, then how is she going to survive on his planet? It didn't need to be said because it's just common sense.
Well, yeah, he had to take human form in order to actually come into
Yeah, he doesn't
the
even.
atmosphere.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a form.
Light, remember?
Um,
And unfortunately, because he had to take human form, he couldn't be in human form for long. That's just how his nature was. If he was going to die if he stayed, and she was going to die if she came into his atmosphere, and that was just known. That was,
Yep.
I mean,
And likewise, if Susan went with him, she would have to die.
I call these
He's deaf.
very similar situations.
They
Uh,
are similar but different.
they're different because believing death is a little bit more tangible than an alien.
Wrong.
I guess it is.
I've always believed there were aliens. If you don't, then you're clueless.
I agree with you, Kroll. I don't think that she could have in Starman actually gone with him in that reality.
I mean, he didn't even have a form or anything. So, her world, and she couldn't change her form, not even for a little while. So, yeah, she would not survive there.
But
And he gave her the next best thing, a child of his and hers and her husband's.
and I do kind of like that idea
Me too.
in that movie, which is what made that film unique. But in any case, we are at the end here, where Joe Black and Bill Parrish end up walking. I do like this juxtaposition of them walking over that bridge. I love
Yeah,
that bridge. It is a very romantic looking bridge. That whole area looks spectacular. Like I would have wanted that in my backyard.
yeah.
You
They
know?
walked off into the moonlight, um, or like the sunset type thing, and walked off, and then the way he came back too, alone, it was cool.
Oh yeah.
uh,
Um,
yeah, although it did leave me wondering what the hell happened with Bill's body.
Right. And another thing is when he came back, right? it seems like it was at the same party, right? And
Uh-huh.
like she saw her father and him walk away, and then he came back alone, and then she's like, I wish you could have met my father. Like, how did she know he was dead? Like she just saw him walk away. That's the part that I was talking about earlier on. Like that was kind of confusing.
Mm.
Also, she seemed to like just accept the fact that he doesn't remember like the last few days with her. Like she knew it wasn't him. That it was like
I
something else in
think
the body or something.
I think she realized at that moment that the
Well,
man.
how?
Uh,
I think she realized at that moment that whoever Joe Black was no longer there.
Oh,
I
it's weird.
think a little earlier when Bill told Joe to go to Susan and confess that he is deaf, and then he had a conversation with Susan there. I think there was this one moment when they were just silent and looking at each other. I think at that point he telepathically somehow showed her the truth.
Mm, uh,
I
I
don't.
don't think that. What I do think is that he tried to make her think about who he was. Um, and I think she may have glimpsed maybe what he might have actually been, but she couldn't fathom it. So that's why she said, "You're Joe," you know, at the end of that
Mm.
whole like uh, trying to reveal moment. But is like her mind couldn't do something. But when her father actually said that he was going to uh, go and take a breather, she turned around and it looked like she actually uh, noticed something. And I think she saw them go over the bridge, and
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
went over, and it was then when he was talking about how he was just
Oh, if
saying,
something ever happens to him, just know that I'll be okay and blah blah blah.
well,
Yeah.
there
We
was
did
also
have that
a moment that he
conversation.
said that you will always have that moment in the coffee shop to her earlier. Um, and I do think that she realized that he was no that the guy that she met in the coffee shop is now here with her now. Um,
Yeah.
and when he said, "I wish that I would have known him too," your father. That's when she kind of like put two and two together that he'd never met her father. So I think she was just affirming that and finally realizing, oh, something must have happened to them. And when he said that he you know what, we'll just take things as they go, as they fall into place. You know, I think that makes it a very romantic moment, and she's kind of they're kind of sort of just refiguring out each other. You know,
Oh, yeah. I think so.
so at the end of all things, what did y'all think about the production?
Mm, I think it was quite good. Like maybe the story being the way it was, okay, it did have some fantasy elements, but it was all done in a way that didn't require much special effects and stuff, like any supernatural occurrences taking place in a visual way, if you see what I mean. But there still were some moments where they were using some effects to emphasize the emotions, like with the fireworks and stuff. And I think that was pretty well done. and yeah, Brad Pitt playing a double role, two entirely different characters. That was also very well done. And okay, maybe it would have been good if we had seen some supernatural occurrences on screen more directly, like death entering a human body or things like that. But okay.
I didn't want to see that. Because then that would mean that there is a more a supernatural element to death, and would make me wonder at least a little bit more. I like the mysteriousness about it, the mystique, um, the wonderment. You take and give the audience that, then there is no wonder, no uh, zero imagination. You gotta leave at least some imagination in there for people to wonder what if.
I would have used all kinds of awesome supernatural CGI if I was making a story about death, but the way they did this story, it would have felt out of place.
Yeah, I agree. But other than that, I mean, Tammy, what did you think of the production?
Tammy, you're muted.
Yep.
Tammy, you're sleeping.
Hold on. Crow, why don't you go ahead and
Well, I thought the production was very good, and like you guys already said, there wasn't really for much, big production. Everything looked the way it should. There wasn't really much fantasy involved with it. The way the story went, everything was done good, I think, and everything looked good. The fireworks at the end was, good fireworks. Nothing major. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have nothing bad to say about production, but nothing was amazing. But the story was amazing. The actors were amazing, and so the rest of production was just the way it should be. So that's basically all I had to say about production.
Okay. Tammy, are you there? Why
Yeah,
don't you?
I mean, it wasn't working. I couldn't hear you.
Ah,
I thought production was good. There wasn't, this wasn't the type of movie to have like really any special effects or anything like that in it. So, it was just straightforward, acting events and things like that. Um, so I thought the production was good. I like how the different scenarios were set up and everything, and thought the wardrobe was decent and scenery was great. So
okay. And myself, I thought that the production was pretty darn awesome. I mean, I liked the mansion and the grounds in which they had the Parishes.
In the library,
Oh, the library was elaborate. That was very
gorgeous.
yeah. Some of the inside scenery of the home was in fact, phenomenal. I
The room where Joe stayed was I was thinking, wow, it's like a suite in a hotel, in a
yeah.
5-star hotel. It's like, oh, there's a sauna and there's this and that. And I'm like, wow.
Well, yeah, and they have their own private pool somewhere on the grounds. And that was
No,
mostly
in a room. It's its own room.
yeah. So, I did
I guess
like,
I can't escape you today.
like I said, I thought that the grounds were cool. The end scene where he's sitting on the bench with Bill, and he stands up and he's like, "Should I be afraid? Really, you, Bill? Come on now." Um, but it was cool to see, and I thought that they made the areas that they filmed in very believable, and the actors and actresses, they did a phenomenal job. You definitely saw Anthony Hopkins and his acting chops. I mean, you saw Brad Pitt definitely show some of his acting ability in here. So I like Brad Pitt
Definitely.
here. I think this is my favorite Brad Pitt movie, to be honest. I didn't like Troy as much, partially because that whole story had to do with the gods, and they had no gods whatsoever, no Greek gods at all, and that was depressing. But other than that, that's right. He was in Fight Club, wasn't he? I do like that one.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
That one's okay. I mean, it's
Okay, that one was great.
It's a remake, so
I don't care. It was better than the original.
But I like the music, the score, the da 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 da. Whenever that part came up, that score was pretty awesome. I thought. Let's see, who did the score? Meet Joe Black. Okay, so getting to it. So it was written by 4 people that I saw. Oh, actually, it was written by a ton of people. Ron Osborne, Jeff Reno, Kevin Wade, Bo Goldman. It was inspired by a play by Alberto Casella and Walter Ferris. Maxwell Anderson and Gladys Lehman were, I guess, inspirations from an earlier part of the screenplay. But the music was by Thomas Newman, which Thomas Newman is known for behind Wall-E, Skyfall,
Oh, Wall-E.
1917.
Wall-E was great.
He was part of the music department of American Beauty. Recently, he was the conductor for Elemental and A Man Called Otto, movie Token. He was the composer for the theme music of Castle Rock, the TV series, Spectre.
I've not seen it yet, but I want to see it.
So a lot of the late James Bond movies. The Iron Lady, The Help, The Debt, Jarhead. He was a composer for the main title theme of 6 Feet Under. Cinderella Man, who was a conductor for a series of unfortunate events and Road to Perdition. And The Green Mile.
Who?
He wasn't the main composer, but he was a conductor in it. So I could hear The Green Mile a little bit. But I was thinking Green Mile-ish, but I didn't realize that there was a connection. So that being said, let's do favorite characters and our favorite scenes. So, Boris, why don't we start with you?
Well, I think my favorite character would be Joe Black. Although I do like Brad Pitt's first character too, which we didn't get to see a lot of, but he still seemed like a cool guy. And well, uh, the others were good too, like Susan and Bill and so on. But yeah, probably the main character. And favorite scene? Oh, interesting question. Well, I did like the scene when Drew was exposed. That would I think that would be my favorite scene. Although there were quite several others I liked, all the scenes of Death trying to act like a human, all the peanut butter jokes and stuff like that. That was really funny. But yeah, I think the final scene with Drew was my personal favorite.
Okay. Heading over to you, Tammy. What were your thoughts on uh, favorite scene and our favorite character?
Well, my favorite character is Joe Black. Favorite scenes, it's really hard to pick one because it's just, it's there's so many little ones of it, because he doesn't know things, So like the first time he has the peanut butter is neat, the first time he gets kissed, he's kind of like, um, the first time he goes to the board meeting and he doesn't understand, some of the things that Drew is saying or whatever, and he says, he questions everything. So there's all kinds of little things like that. But I guess the best one is at the end when Drew gets busted. So
Yeah,
Definitely.
you remember Drew, at least the character that played Drew from a TV series called Medium, if I remember correctly.
yeah,
He actually had a little bit longer hair and was the husband to the medium woman. So, um, is that pretty much your stuff then?
yeah.
Alrighty, heading over to you, Kroll. Favorite character and our favorite scenes.
Joe Black and Susan. Um, I love them both. Not that I didn't love Bill. Bill was great. But yeah, uh, there was a lot of great lines in the movie. Like I said, the dialogue was really, really well written. I really liked a lot of the lines, and they were perfectly executed. Whether it was coming from Bill or it was coming from Joe, um, there were definitely some great lines. But I think I have two favorites, and my first favorite is the first kiss between them. It was just like she's like, "Can I kiss you?" And he's like, "Yes." And at first, he just seemed kind of awkward and you know very awkward because he didn't know how to kiss, but he just finally just she kept kissing him and he enjoyed it. And then how he said then what he said about the kiss, how he enjoyed the her lips and her tongue and everything, and it was just I don't know, just the whole scene was really really awesome. And then of course the near the end scene where they bust through and sends the IRS agent and everything, and then it says death and taxes back to him. Yeah, I thought I don't know, that was very clever, and like I already said, the dialogue of the movie was just phenomenal. So but that scene, the whole scene was great, and the little weasel thought he was getting away with everything, and he got busted big time, and yeah, I love it. It was great. So and of course, them the way they walked away, like we've already mentioned, over the bridge was poetic and very very cool. And then him walking back. So yeah, that's my favorite characters and scenes.
Um, as far as favorite characters, I was in between Joe Black and Anthony Hopkins, Bill Parrish. I do like Susan as an actress, at least in here. Um, at the time, I thought she was very good looking.
Yeah,
And I think you and I both agree, Crow, that there's something about her eyes.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they messed up and
Fall
tear up
into them.
like halfway, and it gives her kind of a sexy look, you know.
Very, very, very sexy. I mean, you just look at her eyes, it's like you just fall into her. It's like one of those one of those one-liners. Like I can fall into your eyes. Only with her, it's true. It's just not lying. I'm just saying, it's just your eyes. It's, they get lost in her eyes.
As an adult, I think she's a little thinner than I would care to have in my female uh,
She
in life.
fine with me.
But yeah, she's very good looking at this point in time, and I think when she shows up in that silver dress, that's one hot number. um, but that being said, I do like how there's wordplay in here, where Death kind of uses his words against him, and I do like uh, the scenery of him, any scene with Joe, uh, like learning how to be a bumbling um, human. The peanut butter, which has been mentioned by uh, both of you guys. I do like the peanut butter scenes, especially when he's talking. She's talking to him for the first time, like after she gets out from the pool, and he's got the spoon in his mouth. She's like, "What is
What are you eating?
that?" Peanut butter. So it was a good way to segue the whole awkward moment between them two, and he when he told her that he would very much like to be her friend. I think that was a very honest moment, because he didn't mean anyone any harm, and he didn't have any friends besides Bill at this moment. So,
If that's something you can call friendship.
well, I think he was very curious.
Mutual understanding.
He was the words that he said to his daughter in that airplane. He heard them, you know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Death can think of Bill as a friend, but can Bill think the same?
I don't think Bill thought the same at first. I think he was more or less thinking that he was a figment of his imagination. At first, he couldn't seem to, that it was real, and then I think because things were happening to his daughter between him, he was starting to get angry. That's not what he imagined for his daughter. An illustrious relationship between a deity that wants to take his life from him. So but I do think at the towards the end they became friends in a sense. They became
He,
almost like brothers, almost, and to understand one another. And I think that's one thing that I like about this movie. Um, but I do like the ending scene with Drew as well. That was a slap in the face for him, and I think he needed a comeuppance for what he did, because that was just plain out rude, especially since at first you thought that he was a good thing for Susan. You know,
Yeah, I have to say the whole concept of him being a villain is okay, maybe not for that year, but for the standards of nowadays, I think it's a bit of a cliche if the girl if she starts out with someone who is not the right one for her, he automatically has to be a bad guy, like not necessarily. So
No, no, he wasn't a bad guy because of Susan. He was a bad guy because of what he was doing. He did to her father.
yeah,
well,
yeah, I know that, but I'm speaking of in terms of creating characters. Like if
to be honest, um, he should have never gotten that jealous right off the way. Um,
uh, I
if he
think
was in
you
love with Susan, then he should have enough trust of her that if she wanted to make a male friend or whatnot, she should, you know, be able to make that male friend. You know, there's nothing
uh,
wrong with a female in a relationship having male friends.
yeah, but I think you are all missing the point I was trying to make. But okay,
What was the point you were trying to make?
that if you are creating, if you are writing a story, or in this case a movie, and you are creating the scenario of the woman being with a guy who is supposed to turn out not to be the right one for her, that doesn't necessarily mean he has to be a villain in the movie. That's what I think is a bit of a cliche, but okay, the movie is old, so that's okay.
I don't think they were ever saying that he was a bad guy until he became the bad guy.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
I never thought of him as a bad guy. I just thought of him as not the right person for her until he turned out to be a snake. He was, but
yeah, but
he had to be with her father, not her husband. I mean,
yeah, but he still is a villainous character.
right,
Uh,
but not because
Yeah,
of her not being of her. Had nothing to do with her. It had to do with him. He was
yeah.
uh,
he seemed to be fine with her. He never really did anything wrong to her. He just wasn't. There was just no chemistry or real love between the two. Um, even when his breakup was, oh, I thought we had a good thing going. Like that's it. Like that's
well, he maybe didn't directly do anything bad to her, but I think it was safe to assume that he was with her from the very beginning because he was chasing profit and not because he genuinely cared about her.
Well, that was something that I think we learned later, but it wasn't exactly pronounced at first. We thought, to our knowledge, to the audience's knowledge, Susan was in fact still. I think in a way she was settling, um, more or less because he was the only one that was fighting, um, and I
Mm.
do think I do think that because of her father's relationship with him in business matters, because he was trusted in her father's eyes, and a man that he worked with very closely, is why she was choosing to be with him at first. You know,
yeah, she's definitely a daddy's girl, and he seemed to be a lot like her dad at first. you know, and so that's where it came from. But yeah, I
But
mean, even her dad, the her dad liked Drew at first, but he's like, he knew that she was in love with him. He could tell that, and that's why he was like telling her that, don't just settle with someone, you need to find love, lightning can strike.
okay. Well, I think that is pretty much it. Unless anyone else has anything else to say. But hopefully, you guys out there have enjoyed our discussion on this film. I think we all pretty much enjoyed this film. I mean, this is one of those ones that we all actually, as a group, kind of enjoyed together. Eh?
Yes, which
Which,
has
which is
recently.
rare that we all like somewhat agree on
Yeah,
on movies. You know.
Yeah, and you didn't pick the villain to be your favorite character for once, or
Oh,
the villain.
I didn't. I didn't pick the villain to like.
Yeah, as your favorite character.
Well, there are times that the villain is very good. Uh,
No,
uh,
the villain's the villain, the bad guy, but
yeah, but they
sometimes the
can
bad
still
guy is
be interesting characters
I
sometimes
never said they're
too.
not
sometimes the
interesting,
bad guy
but
is awfully good
interesting does not make them a favorite.
actor. I just think there are some pretty bad people
Mm.
who act really good.
The Joker in the Batman second Batman Nolan's second Batman movie was an awesome Joker and a very interesting character. Still wasn't my favorite. I was Batman, but
It's a tragedy that Heath Ledger is no longer with us.
yeah,
Because
he literally drove himself crazy for the role.
yep,
Mm, yeah.
I mean, it's good to be an actor to get into your role, but there should be a line between getting into your role and in your real life, and yeah, he somehow crossed that line. Shame. He's a great
Mm,
actor.
yeah, but
indeed.
in any case, like, share, and subscribe. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of our discussion, and then we'll be back next week with whose turn is it next week?
Mine.
What did you choose for this next week?
Uh,
It's a mad, 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 mad world.
wait, wait. Is it your turn? I mean, it was
Yes, it
you,
is.
then Tammy, then Dave. Isn't it my turn? Sorry, what?
I think you had
You
your
chose the Salem slot, then we had Tammy Starman, and then this, or am I
I didn't know we had
wrong?
Salem's Lot. You weren't even here. But yeah, you're right. I guess it is your turn then.
yep. It is your turn, and then it will be back
So,
to.
folks, we won't know what it will be until next week.
Actually, I think I can choose it already. I had multiple movies on mind, but uh, uh, okay, actually, I have two movies on mind. I will decide today or tomorrow.
uh, Told ya.
Which ones did you have in mind?
Boris does
What that
not make.
I sorry, what?
You don't like to make decisions.
One that I have on mind is I know what you did last summer. I was a teenager when I saw that one, and I kind of want to revisit it now that I'm more into horror than I was back then. And another one, I I need to look up what exactly it was called. Give me a moment, I will find it. Uh,
You
uh,
have to tell us in Japanese.
it's not Japanese. Uh,
That's
this
surprising.
this might be it. Uh, okay, I think uh, the other one is it this one? God damn it! Oh, yeah, the other House of Adam from 2006.
What
What is
is
it
it?
called?
Uh, the House of Adam.
The House of Adam.
Yeah,
Okay.
From what year?
2006.
Okay. I do not have it as of yet, so I'll have to look it up. But I
You don't
say
want to
let's
watch?
let's go with I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then once I actually acquire a copy, so that maybe all of us can actually watch it, um, then we'll go with
Hey,
that.
I don't own any of the stuff that you people pick, and I find it. So pick what you want, Boris.
Well, I'm okay with doing I Know What You Did Last Summer, since it is another movie that I want to discuss. This one, The House of Adam, I have kind of wanted to watch this one because I read something about it that makes me think I should show it to a local friend of mine because of a certain inner joke, but that might be going into the spoiler area, so I will tell you about that another time.
Uh, I don't seem to be able to find it.
Well, I haven't tried yet. And Kroll, what did you say was going to be your next pick?
It's
Don't
a
worry
Mad
about it. You'll
World.
find out next week.
Yep. So, in any case,
Okay.
like, share, and subscribe, and let us know down in the comments what you thought. We'll see you back here next week for I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Back to horror. You know Halloween's over, right?
Sorry.
Not
All right,
sorry.
everyone, say good night.
Good night.
Good night,
Good day.
everyone.
Say good day.